Hey everybody, I'm Tommy. You're on the Love Boat. What's really going on around this campus? Hopefully everyone's having a good evening. Let's get to the comment section. Lilac, good to see you. Brock Bandy, what's happening? Jane Aldrich is here. You know, some of these are a little dark. Yeah. Brock Bandy, what's happening? Archie's mom, good to see you. Josh, what's up? You know, if I miss anybody, it's really dark on my screen tonight. Hey, Natalie, 5 by 5. You know what? Johnny Scoville didn't get a lot of luck. We'll see how I do this evening. But Johnny's going to do his in the early morning hours. We're going to talk about the Brian Kohberger thing. This isn't the first time that I've brought up Brian Kohberger on this channel, but it's been a hot minute. I made some predictions about how Brian Kohberger was going to do in prison. Thank you, Johnny. And shocker, he's not doing well. And I'm not going to lie to you people. I saw this one coming. He's got a lot of strikes against him. So if you're not familiar with Brian Kohberger, in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, there were 4 students at the University of Idaho. Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonclaves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. And this lowlife goes in and butchers them. No other way to put it. He went in and just butchered them. And he did it because he just kind of wanted to see how killing somebody felt. Lost again, good to see you. Barbara Waite, what's happening? Is that the B lady? Good to have you here. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Kellyanne. Angie Barnes, good to have you here, Angie Barnes. A tan leather knife sheet was found at the scene, and it carried DNA that didn't match any database, prompting them to do that 23andMe kind of hunt down. If you enter your DNA into one of those databases like 23andMe or Ancestry.com or any of those, your DNA can be used to track down criminals who are in your family. It's a weird thing to say, isn't it? It sounded really odd just coming out of my grill. I'm not sure I like the way that sounds, but that's exactly what happens with those apps. You can use that as a way to track down criminals. And you know what? If they're this kind of criminals, man, these people ought to be going away. But it's a weird, gray, odd area in terms of investigation. But the way they got him was to go through... Authorities obtained Kohberger's trash pull from his parents' in Pennsylvania home, which led to a DNA match. But they tracked his happy ass down by looking at all of the different people in his family that couldn't have done it, but it had to have been a relative of somebody with that DNA, which is just absolutely bizarre to me. But it does work. December 30th, 2022, Kohberger was arrested in Chestnut Hill Township in Monroe County, Pennsylvania by the Pennsylvania State Police on a fugitive warrant. Authorities found him wearing an examination gloves, sorting trash and placing items into baggies, indicating an effort to clean up. Probably a little bit late. He was extradited to Idaho in early January of 2023 to face the charges on this. And he did the not guilty plea at the arraignment. So that people make a bigger deal about that. Everybody pleads not guilty at the arraignment. Nobody pleads guilty at their arraignment. In the court system, honestly, if you try to do it, the judges blow an O-ring because you're going to end up wanting to take the plea back. You're going to say that you didn't have the ability to do this, this, and this. And if you actually try to plead guilty at the arraignment, I did it once. My friend Jeffrey, who you see in the chat from time to time, he pled guilty at his arraignment. It is a ridiculously difficult thing to do. And the reason that it is because the judge is going to then have to read you about 900 things that you're willing to agree to. You know, you're giving up your right to an appeal. You're giving up your right to this. You're giving up your right to a pre-sentence investigation. When a person gets busted and the crime is heinous, this is about as bad as it can get, right? Really good chance this guy's going to get the needle. At least that's how it looked. He was going to get the death sentence. What ends up happening in the Kohberger case, which is happening a lot these days because of social media, I think actually drives this. There are so many people out there talking about it. Their families have to hear about it. Everyone on the planet was talking about Brian Kohberger. And I think, hey, Reese, good to see you. And I think that it was one of those situations where he knew if he didn't pull the trigger on changing his guilty plea, which he did on July 2nd, 2025, on the 23rd, he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences. None of them have the possibility of him getting out ever. Now, he didn't want to get killed. This dude's actually a coward. This dude's actually like a first-class coward. The fact that he was able to pull this off is Just so disturbing. This is a guy whose mind is so twisted. He kind of wanted to pull off the perfect crime. And when this went down, I said, this guy ain't going to do well in the joint. The prison is the most racist place on planet Earth. There's no getting around that. Hey, Ryan, I'm hanging in there, man. I really am. I'm hanging in there. I'm going to blow my schnozzle here real quick, people. I almost wish you guys could have heard that because it sounded a lot like a flugelhorn. Did it not?
It did.
A little flugelhornish.
It sounded like one of those horns they use in the Alps. Is that a flugelhorn?
No, that's like the Ricola thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember what those are called. Somebody put that in the chat if you know what the flugelhorn. Flugelhorn? If I'm making that up, I'm doing a really, really good job. Anyway, so I said, because prison is one of the most racist places on planet Earth. I don't know Kohberger's nationality. I don't know what his history is. His name certainly sounds Jewish. And inside, having a Jewish sounding name is a reason that you're probably going to have to be very, very careful. When you think about the fact that most prison gangs, if you happen to be light colored skin, identify as being Nazis, right? They identify Adolf Hitler as being this cool dude. You see tattoos of the 14 and 88. Well, the 88 is the 8th letter of the alphabet twice, right? That would be like Heil Hitler, like Zeke Heil kind of thing. So there's a very serious problem going into a joint like this being Jewish. It's a tough way to do time. Now, doesn't mean you can't do it. I did time with some Jewish cats who took a lot of crap from a lot of people, but they didn't let people push them too far. They'd fire on people. They were willing to fight for the ability to stay in the prison. Because the other option is you're going to end up serving the rest of your time with people that molest kids. You know, you're going to serve the rest of your time with people that just are the foulest and most disgusting people on planet Earth, and you don't want to have to do time with them. I wonder why folks are still racist against Jews. You know what, B-Lady, there isn't a good reason to be racist against anybody. It always goes back to ignorance. I'm sorry, it does. And I know that there are people who are going to go, but what's happening today? Miss me with that crap. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? For real, miss me with that crap. World War II happened long before Gaza was a place. But regardless, Brian Kohberger is going in there with a strike against him from Jump Street. However, you're going to get pushed on when you get there. And the truth of the matter is you'd be astounded, the people that can walk prison yards, if they're just willing to put their chest up a little bit and not take crap. I mean, you might have to get in a fist fight. It's not the end of the world. You're going to get in a fist fight in prison one way or the other. You may as well get into a fist fight on your own terms. You know what I mean? Don't wait until everybody is taking advantage of you constantly and you have to fire on somebody. But Kohberger, when he first gets in there, he gets put into this system where you get put into ADSEG, administrative segregation, until they figure out whether or not you can do time. In other places, this is called fish tank, right? Sometimes it's called receiving. There are places that call the entry center, which is usually inside a smaller part of a prison, they call it Broadway. That was a term that I think came out of San Quentin originally, because Quentin is just so overcrowded. It's insane, but they used to have this area down below that they would call Broadway. But anyway, you have to go through this intake process, and they're trying to figure out whether or not you can do time. As crazy as it sounds, there are a lot of people that can't. And there's no opt-out button. Kohberger currently believes there is an opt-out button. And he also came from a county jail that babied his ass. This happens a lot in county jails. County jails aren't used to dealing with inmates who are high profile. They're not used to dealing with inmates that usually it's just you're warehousing people until they can go to court and plead guilty. When you get somebody as high profile as this dude, and then he turns out to be one of the biggest crybabies on earth, he apparently was taking 1-hour showers in county jail, which I find fascinating. I was reading about this cat. And apparently he was real into taking 1-hour showers, and he talked about it on telephones, and people heard about it, and it just makes you want to hate him. There are these 4 dead college students, have their entire life in front of them. By the way, it doesn't matter. You can kill people that are not blessed with God's gift of being symmetrical, right? People that don't look particularly attractive. I'm only bringing this up for one reason and one reason only. If you go into prison for killing a young woman and the young woman is beautiful, you're in way more trouble than if she's not. It's just kind of the way it is. It's not logical. It should be the same thing any way around. And it is. I mean, if you hurt a kid, they don't care what the kid looks like. But these murders got a lot of press, man. these college students, there's a lot of pictures of them all hugging each other and being lovey and looking beautiful. And there's a lot of people that would like to hurt Brian Kohberger just from Jump Street. So his entree into the prison system is he's going to have to go into this ad seg where they're going to monitor him for X number of days. I remember the first time I went to prison, it was 60 days that you were going to spend in that kind of segregation. And the first 30 you did in a 23-and-1. 23-and-1 is where you get out of your cell 1 hour a day. And that 1 hour a day is to go to a little cage outside that you can walk around in. I can't get my glasses clean. I feel like P. Diddy. I don't know if you ever noticed, but P. Diddy always has thumbprints on every pair of glasses he owns. I figure with that kind of money, he could at least clean his glasses. But we spent the first 30 days on a 23-and-1, and then you get out to a unit where they let you out for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours a day, so you could make a phone call, you could take a shower, you could do things like that. Currently, Kohberger is getting a shower every other day, and he is in a handicapped cell. There are some pictures that have popped up on the internet of him. He's in a handicapped cell. That's usually like the last resort, right? Those cells usually remain open until somebody who's handicapped gets there. They're trying to keep that cat from having a cellie. That's why he's in the handicapped cell, because there isn't they want this guy alone because he's famous. And until they figure out whether or not the fellas are going to accept them, then they kind of have to keep him in some form of protection, if that makes sense. Here's the problem. So no one can get at him. This guy is filling out what we call kites in the Fed system, right? And kites in the federal system is when if you write anything down on paper, it tends to get called a kite. Now, that right there, people, that right there is a form filled out by Brian Kohberger, who, by the way, doesn't spell his name the way they do in the press. But that is that right there is Brian Kohberger's snitch letter, for lack of a better way to put it, right? It says, I have on several occasions not received all items of food on my tray. I addressed this during service and have called the policy book and recalled the policy book confirms any items missing on the tray will be replaced. This dude's an ass clown. Here's what's going on. This guy's going to wind up dead. And it isn't going to be because he took out all of those 4 budding college students. This cat's going to end up dead because he's a rat. You cannot rat in prison. You can't. You know, people, you hear the expression all the time, snitches get stitches. In prison, they get ditches. If you're somebody that's going to tell, you better be slick about it. You know what I mean? And there's a million ways to tell on somebody without filling out a document that has your name on the top of it. This dude, the term inside is called fronting off or dry snitching. So maybe Brian Kohberger is missing something on his tray every day. It's a possibility. Guess what? Tough. The fact that he's filling out paperwork on this is going to do 2 things inside the prison system. Number one, the cops hate him. And you know the proof of this? The proof of this is all of these forms, all of this stuff that he filled out. Here's another one. This is the snitch letter right here. Right? This dude names names and starts talking about how he is being tortured in there. Guys are getting in the vents and saying things like, we'd like to have sex with you. Kind of not how they're saying it, but I promise you, that's what's going on. There are guys in the vent all day long talking to this guy about having sex with him. Here's the deal. In most units, you're either going to have one story, 2 story, 3 story, 4 story, but the vent. What are we doing there, Johnny Skull? You got a keg party going on? Nice. Really? Is everybody complaining about it? Nice. Oh, that's a nice. I haven't been watching. Nice. Nice. Oh, well, let me see something here. Nice. Let me back out. Nice. 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 Oh, I know. Hold on. Nice. Nice. Oh, I know. All right, look, you know what that is? Johnny, shut that window. Hold on one second. Sorry, folks. Are you still hearing it? I think that might have been the window to the Malacone. Huh?
I know, it's good now.
We're good? You thought your laptop was possessed? It may not have been the first time. It may be in your head, folks. I'm not giving you an out on this. So I don't know how long back you guys haven't been able to pay attention. The bottom line is this. This is a guy that went into prison and pissed off the two people that you do not want to anger in prison. Convicts and cops. And I'm not saying inmates. I'm talking about convicts. When you start filling out paperwork and sending it into staff members, you're a dead man. I'm not joking. You're a dead man. There are people in there right now sharpening knives, ready to stick this dude. And he's asking to be transferred to a different part of the prison. He's on J block. Apparently he wants to go to Baker. He wants to go to B block. You know what? Ain't going to be any different in B block. It isn't. When I talk about in the vents, so every jail cell has what's called a pipe chase. If you think about it logically, you have to run pipes. Anywhere you run pipes in prison, you have the danger of inmates messing with pipes. So toilets will go against the side of each wall. So if you could see from above, the toilets are lined up against the wall like this in every cell, right? And you have between that what they call the pipe chase, and that's where all of the hardware and everything goes on in there. And there's a vent from there to the ground. And every cell in that unit, in that vent, can scream to one another. It's like a phone system. And it could be anywhere from 3 to 6 cells. It could be 4 to 8 cells, probably a max of about 8. But allegedly, these guys are taking shifts, right? And I've done this. I'm not joking. I've been a part of this kind of thing before. When somebody gets to prison, you're going to razz them. Even if the dude's famous or whatever, you're going to razz him. They call it a gut check. The fellows will say they want to see if the guy's pumping Kool-Aid, right? What's he got pumping through the heart? Has the guy got blood, right? Or is he pumping Kool-Aid? Is he soft? So they're going to start pushing up on him, and they're going to say stuff like, when they pop these doors, I'm going to slap the taste out of your mouth. When they pop these doors, you're a dead man. First time they let us out on tier together, I'm going to have sex with you. And they get way more graphic, and it's awful. If that dude had gotten an event and say, wait till they pop this door, fool. I'm looking forward to them popping this door. More than likely, the fellas would laugh. I'm not even joking. Now, this guy's a bit famous. He's got some issues he's going to have to deal with, and he has to overcome being Jewish. Pumping Kool-Aid, that's right. It's not a nice expression inside. If you say a dude's pumping Kool-Aid, it's usually not considered a compliment. It usually means that he doesn't have any blood in his veins. He's soft. He's softer than hospital cotton. He's bunny's ass soft. It's another expression that gets a lot of traction in there. Here's the deal. He's now said that these guys are threatening sexual assault. That's how he wrote that up. And he's not stupid, right? The guy isn't, he may not be smart, but he's not stupid. He read that handbook. So he's trying to work what's called PRIA. I don't know what year PRIA went into existence. Somebody could probably look that up for me and see what year the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PRIA. When I went to prison the first time, I've told these stories. When I went to prison the first time, you would shower, and there were 2 showers. And we had female guards that walked on a catwalk while 60 guys waited online to take showers, and there were no shower curtains. And you had 60 seconds or 90 seconds or whatever to shower. So it's just guys jumping in and washing themselves as fast as they can and jumping out. And it's bizarre, but women just stood there and watched while they held shotguns so that if someone did something wrong, they could shoot them. One in particular they called Buckshot Betty, who was there every single day that I was in the fish tank. They did away with all that stuff. All of the stuff that was just super indignant that was done to guys. We didn't have stalls between toilets. So if you were in a dorm style room, you could go out and there would be 9 commodes right next to each other, like Full Metal Jacket. They're just so you go in the morning, there's a guy sitting next to you, like, damn, you do about the first 9 days there without dropping a deuce, and then you kind of have to tap out. You know what happened, honestly? I was in that dorm, and I said to a guy, dude, I cannot stand living in this dorm. It's killing me. And he goes, anybody here you hate? I'm like, I hate everybody here. He goes, punch one in the face. They're going to end up sticking you in a cell. I was like, what? He goes, it's a custody level. You're at the lowest custody level. I punched someone that day. I'm sorry, it's not very nice, but I did not want to be in that dorm any longer. But the PRIA happened after that sentence. So it probably would have been after 2004. September 4th, 2003. So it probably would have been implemented, somewhere in the next 5 years, honestly. I never saw a PRIA video. Never. But I know they show them. Now everybody that comes in watches a video about sexual assault, about, any of this stuff, because it's a standard joke, right? You're going to prison, don't drop the soap, right? You get soap on a rope. I hope he gets a big cellie named Bubba that's going to take care of him. I mean, the only people you can joke about on planet Earth getting raped are convicts. I mean it. Drop that joke on anyone else and you're not going to get a laugh. But you can joke about convicts getting anally raped or orally raped all the time, and people dig it. And I understand, right? They want punishment for guys like Kohberger. But the government has stepped up and said, you got to kind of draw the line somewhere at punishment. And they came out with the Prison Rape Elimination Act, PRIA. This fool's playing on that. Because if he says, I feel sexually threatened, PRIA automatically gets locked in. So now they have to fill out a whole new set of papers. And one of those sets of papers is going to the feds. This is a state joint. But they got to tell everybody anytime there's a PRIA violation or anything like that. So this dude is pissing off staff. This is the worst thing he could have written. I mean, the worst. When he wrote about stuff not being on his tray, he puts in there, I told the cops about it at every single shift. You're fronting off all the cops. You don't snitch on cops. If you snitch on an inmate, they'll separate you. They'll move you to a prison where no one has ever heard of that inmate. You snitch on a cop, where are they going to put you? You snitch on a cop, there's nowhere to go. Wherever you go for the rest of the time that you're in that system, you're in deep doo-doo. And he has been doing it one right after the other. I told the cops about this. They're not doing anything. Man, you didn't get a biscuit? I mean, what did you not get on your tray? An orange? This he's really honestly trying to commit suicide in the most bizarre fashion. But this guy, when they can't keep him in this ag-sed situation forever. You understand this? I think that a lot of these fools, especially famous ones, they get to a county jail and they might fight the case for 12 to 13 months. They're not going to give him a cellmate. They're not going to let anybody close enough to hurt this dude. He's probably on walk alone status, right? We had that kid that James Bila was a guy in Nevada who had a very famous case. He was abducting women out of their bedrooms. But I was in the county jail getting ready to go to the feds at the same time that fool was in there fighting his death penalty case. He got the death sentence, by the way. He was one of the guys that I took turns in the vent giving the guy the blues because we ended up in a situation where I could give him the blues. And it was about all I could do to the guy. We were all on 23-1 lockdown, so you can't really get anyone. All you can do is get in the vent and take turns going, we're not letting this guy sleep, right? We're going to scream this dude's name and talk about the kind of things that and inmates have got nothing to do. When you're in a 23-1 unit, there is nothing to occupy your time. You can read, you can work out, you can listen to the radio, or you can get in the vent and give Brian Kohberger the blues for 8 consecutive hours when it's your shift, and it will not bother you. And your cellmate will probably jump in on it. The two of you will be having a ball. It's a nasty business, but it's exactly what's going to happen to this fool. And it's going to get worse for him. It's going to get worse for him because now the guards whose job it is to protect him ain't going to want to protect him. He's popping every button you don't want to. PRIA is in place so that if your cellmate says he intends to rape you, you don't have to put up with that. There's some kind of an outlet for those people who find themselves in a situation where they're going to have to serve that kind of time. They can pull an alarm bell. This dude's pulling an alarm bell and he doesn't have a cellmate. There's nobody that can rape him. He's in a 23-1 unit and he's complaining about PRIA. This guy, this is how people die because the people who have to write up where you're going, the people that have to determine whether or not you can do time in a normal yard or whether you're going to a special needs yard, a protective custody yard, what level your points are going to be at, they now hate him. You understand? I mean, they probably hated him before this started because there was so much news about this particular case. But now he's in there being a jackass. Now he's in there playing the full fool card from Jump Street. This fool hasn't even gotten through intake. And there are kites, there are snitch letters that he sent to the police being printed on every single forum on earth. I've got them here. Those don't get out for no apparent reason. They get out because the cops hate them. Make no mistake. Those are getting out because the cops hate them. And the cops know there are dudes in that prison right now with cell phones. Plenty of them. And they're watching Brian Kohberger news. They're loving the fact that Kohberger's complaining and that they're keeping him up. They are loving this. And the more he plays into it, he's now got a target on his back as big as Milwaukee. For real. there is now a target on this guy's back that he's a dead man walking. He's a dead man walking. And here's the thing. The nice thing about he's annoying the COs with his complaints. Yeah, he's annoying the COs with his complaints. And these are complaints that now have to go to the next phase. If all he was doing was bitching about the food or whatever, it goes to a specific area. So if you complain about the food, it goes to the food and beverage cop. If you're complaining about you're not getting your rec time, it goes to the rec cop. If you're complaining about PRIA, it goes to the feds. I mean, it goes to the warden, it goes to the captain, it goes to the associate warden, and it goes to the federal government. This dude is bringing a spotlight down onto all of the cops. Now, the feds aren't stupid. They've all seen this crap, but they're going to have to answer to people because the Prison Rape Elimination Act is a federal, it was passed by the feds. It's not a state deal. It's implemented in all 50 states, but it is a federal law. So when somebody jacks up with that, it's like the difference between a Schedule 1 and a Schedule 2 narcotic, right? You've got to fill out 3 forms and one of them is going to the feds. That's exactly what's happening with this PRIA stuff. And for him to say, you know, they're saying that they want to take my butt. Yeah, guess what, dude? Welcome to prison. The boys are going to be yelling that at you. They're going to give this guy the blues. I'll bet you he's not sleeping. I guarantee you that's a safe bet. He's not sleeping. But these spoiled pricks go to county jail and they spend 15 months on a walk alone status. And they get in their head that, hey, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I'm going to live in a cell alone. I'll get a book, you know, I'll write a book. I'll read a lot of books. Maybe it's a state joint, so you could probably get his own television set, probably his own video game system. And he figures he's going to be alone in a cell for the rest of his life. He traded that for killing those 4 people. It ain't going to be that way. I talk about this all the time. This is a glaring example, and you're going to get to see it in action. PC, protective custody, doesn't mean they're going to drop that fool in a cell by himself for the rest of his sentence. You get it? It means he's going to go to a prison yard like everyone else does, except the people on the prison yard there can't be with other guys. Some of them because they're child molesters. Some of them because they're rapists. Some of them because they ratted on people. Or they did just what Kohberger did and started snitching on people as soon as they got to prison. This guy ended his career faster than anyone has ever ended their prison career. I'm not kidding you. He's not even a week in. And he's not even hit population. He's still in the intake unit and doesn't have a cellmate. This is all bad for him because he can't expect that for the rest of his sentence. But if they're hollering at BK all night, no one else is sleeping either. Here's the really funny thing about that. Convicts will sleep through it without a problem. The reason that Kohberger can't sleep through that is because they're yelling his name. Everybody else in there, when I left the special management unit, right? When I walked out of prison from a SMU. I walked from a 23-in-1 unit to the street, right? Which is kind of insane, but I went from a 23-in-1 unit directly to the street. And the first night that I was in Denver, because I was at the United States Penitentiary at Florence Supermax. So I had to go from Florence Supermax to the Denver airport. We were flying out of Denver, but we were spending 2 nights there before we flew out. And the first night I was staying in Denver was the night that Peyton Manning threw 7 touchdown passes, or he scored 7 touchdowns. I don't remember how he did it. I didn't watch the game. But noise was, I mean, all night. People were in the streets lighting off fireworks, leaning on the horns, everybody screaming. And the woman that I was married to at the time, when I woke up in the morning, she was like, how in hell did you sleep? I was like, what? She said, I just watched you sleep all night. I cannot believe you slept. The special management unit is noise 23 hours a day. So guys just learn how to sleep with it. I mean, it's that simple, especially if you're in a lockdown unit. And he's in a unit that people are bucking, right? The term bucking usually means that you're going up against the man, right? And there's not much you can do to go up against the man in prison. You can sling feces and urine on them. Not a good idea. Usually gets you beat up. You can flood the unit, right? Bottom cells, all the people on the bottom cells just start flushing their toilet, clogging it up, turning all the water on, and they flood the unit. It's a pain in the ass. The cops have to go to work. It makes everybody really, really angry. And apparently they have been doing that. They're also going on strike. And it doesn't say what the strike is because this is just Kohberger's word. But he said, I'm not like all those other inmates, man. I haven't been flooding my cell and and going on these strikes. I'm not doing any of that. Yeah. I mean, it could be a hunger strike. It could be it's in a 23-in-1 unit. It would have to only be a hunger strike. You couldn't do anything else. If it was a unit where people actually got out, you can do work strikes. Where people just don't leave their cells. They refuse to leave their cell for any reason. May not sound like a big deal, right? But cops don't run prisons. Inmates run prisons. You got to feed 1,600 people. You know how that happens? Tons of guys go down to work in the kitchen. The chefs are all convicts. The sous chef is a convict. All of the guys working anywhere in the kitchen. There's one cop, and every employee in there is an inmate. Same thing in laundry. Same thing in rec. Same thing in every department. CMS, the people that go out with tools to fix things, 1 or 2 cops. The rest of them are all inmates. But this can't be a work stoppage. He's in a 23-in-1 unit. So the strike has to be hunger strikes, which means the fellas ain't eating. He said, I didn't participate in any of that crap. Also, well played. You get there and your skin tone is the same as mine. And guys in there are going, we're not eating. You got to not eat. If they're flooding the cells, you got to flood the cells. Like, as stupid as this sounds, I know that this sounds absolutely just counterintuitive to how you would get through a prison sentence. But when you get there, especially when you first get there, everyone is looking at you. For real. Everyone's watching what you're going to do. Are you going to ride with the fellas? Because that holds a lot of weight. He's walking in there, a stone cold piece of crap with a Jewish last name. Very tough way to go into prison. He killed beautiful girls and young men, and just the guy's a lowlife. And he's going in there with a name that isn't going to carry a lot of water just based on the fact that it sounds Jewish and it's a ridiculously anti-Semitic environment, right? So he's in trouble along the way, right? Yeah, you go along to get along. And you know what? You kind of have to draw a line somewhere. I mean, I'm not saying, but here's the deal. Here's the truth of the matter. Depending on your custody level, when you get where you're going, they say to you, the next time we find out someone's a bad dude, your job is going to be to go in and get rid of them. They call it putting in work. And the truth is, when you have to put in work, they send 3 guys with you. You're not going in there to do a one-on-one fist fight with a guy or stab somebody alone. You got 3 guys standing behind you. Like, when the guy sees you coming through the door, he just, but a lot of guys check in over not wanting to have to put in paperwork. It's an awful concept. Everything about prison. I'm not advocating for any of this garbage. I promise you I could build a better system. In fact, if you got a 6th grader and you explained to them what was going on, they could build a better system. But everything inside the prison is designed to do one thing, and it's keep inmates fighting inmates. Because if inmates keep fighting inmates, then the staff doesn't have anything to worry about. But if the inmates all love each other, black, white, Mexican, Native American, Islanders, if everybody got along just beautifully, well, then there's only about 100 guys there that are trying to take care of 1,600 to 2,300. That's a bad equation. So they do everything within their power to keep prisons racist. I promise you. If you walk into a prison and you go drop your butt down at the wrong color table, right? Like, when you go into the chow hall, there are black tables, there are white tables. At the white table, there are cars within the table. So, like, everybody from Nevada sits there. Everybody from Chicago sits there. Those are the, AC or the A-dub or whatever. A is always Aryan, and they've got, warriors, circles, crews, a lot of Aryan stuff getting thrown around in there. I promise you, a lot of Aryan stuff. But they want everybody at each other's throat. If you were to just walk in there and sit down in the black section, it'll be a cop that comes talk to you. It's not going to be an inmate, I promise. Before that inmate ever gets a chance, the cop is going to stormtroop you and go, what the hell is the matter with you? So gangs have tables in prison. They do. I mean, they're not sanctioned by the prison, but yeah, if there are gangs at your prison, there are that car, that table. You are not sitting at that table unless you are a member of that gang. Plain and simple. Yeah. And the more severe the prison, like, every time I ate in the chow hall in Victorville, I sat in the exact same place. That's just how it goes down. And the guy that sat next to me was the same dude that sat next to me every single day. I was in an 048 car, right? That meant that I had come out of Northern Nevada. So guys from Reno, guys from Vegas, anybody from Nevada sat at that table. We had a deep car at Victorville. There was like 11 guys there. So we had almost an entire table. When you get there, if you don't play the game, life will get so bad for you so quickly. They're going to send Kohberger now to a protective custody yard, guaranteed. But if you think protective custody means he gets to sit alone in a cell and play video games, you just don't get it. He's going to get a cellmate. They're not going to be able to say to him, oh, it's Brian Kohberger, so for the rest of your sentence, you don't get a cellmate. Oh, no, he's getting a cellmate. He's going to get a cellmate in the next 90 days. Guaranteed he's going to get a cellmate in the next 90 days. It's going to be a real rough night. Now, after that cellmate beats the crap out of him, he can check in, go to the hole, where he will also get a cellmate, right? They might be able to get him a single for a while, but if the hole fills up, he's getting a cellmate. Then they're going to ship him to another yard, and it's going to start all over again. Here's the problem with the protective custody units. Let's say I'm a gangbanger, and I'm a lieutenant in some Aryan gang. Like I'm a big shot. I got to where I got by putting in work. Like there are bodies out there because of me, kind of thing. And then one day at a poker table, I get into an argument with a guy who's also an LT or whatever, and I punch him. And the gang goes, yep, he's done. Well, you're not a rat. You're not a child molester. You just messed up with the gang. So they ship you now to a protective custody yard because that gang runs the entire prison system, and they're going to stomp you out like a brush fire everywhere you go. So they put him in a PC yard. He doesn't become soft on the bus ride there. I promise you. That dude's a killer. He's been a killer. He's always going to be a killer. And now he's on a yard with Brian Kohberger. You see where this is going? Now, I know that there are places where they really try to coddle or whatever. You can't pull it off. I don't care how much you try. They're going to do difficult time. I did time. The last prison I was at in the federal system was Sheridan in Sheridan, Oregon. And Sheridan is soft. I mean, hospital cotton, medicated cotton soft. And it was the first yard I had ever been at that had weirdos. They had an entire row of cells. The downstairs in the A block, the entire downstairs was called Chomo Row. No joke. These were all guys that had weird cases where they were looking at images of kids, right? Because touching a kid is a state crime. Looking at a kid online is a federal crime. So when you get the weirdos in the feds, they were either manufacturing or looking at that stuff and putting it on the internet. That's kind of how they all get there. But yeah, Scott Peterson got smacked around more than once. In fact, he got smacked around pretty recently. PC is full of pedos. There's no question. There are more PCs. There were more pedos in PCs than anything else. However, you got any idea how many gang dropouts are gonna occur today? Every prison around the country, there's somebody, they beef with each other. What happens when you fight your own gang? You go to a PC yard. I mean, that's it. You're going to wind up on protective custody because now you can't walk anywhere in the system. I knew a cat from Alabama that I did time with in the feds, and that happened to him. Like he came in and told everybody his story. Was like, listen, man, I'm not what you think I am. I got into a fight with a guy. I didn't know the guy was a gang member, and I laid him out. He's like, I knocked this dude out. He goes, but I didn't know he was a gang member. It wasn't a disrespect thing. They waited. 3 days later, they smacked him with a lock. All he did was get in a fight with the wrong dude for the rest of his sentence, and he refuses to PC up. This dude's just going to go from one legit yard to another, getting his wig split because he will not sign the papers to go away. Brian Kohberger is begging right now for protective custody as hard as he possibly can. How they stay sane, you know what? You read, man. There are people that can't do time, and unfortunately, they break the law all the time. It doesn't require somebody to be outlandishly hard or tough or any of those things. It's just simply not the way it is. But you have to be able to be alone with yourself, and you have to be incredibly patient because you're going to wait for virtually everything. I've told the story so many times. First week of September, I complained about a toothache that's literally killing me. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do if they don't do something about it. And they yanked it in the third week of January. Is protective custody better? I doubt it. I mean, you'd be surrounded by child molesters. You know, it would be better for Brian Kohberger. I mean, absolutely. Brian Kohberger can't walk a regular yard. The fact that they put him in there is kind of funny. But they were giving him a shot. You know something? What's the oh, man. Can't think of the guy's name. He's got red hair. He was a big case a while ago. He killed his wife and his son. Paul. Somebody's gonna help me with this. Someone here who was into true crime will tell me. But there's a guy that just recently got locked up. He killed his wife and his kid. It was a super famous case, and this fool was an attorney in the town that all of these guys are in. So He's represented people in there. Yeah, there you go, Murdaugh. Murdaugh is doing time. That cat's walking a normal yard because he went in there and didn't act like a punk. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He's got a lot of money. That doesn't hurt the cause because he's buying dope for everybody. I don't know if you've seen any of his recent hearings, but he's nodding out during them. You know, he's in there and he's partying. It's kind of sad. But Brian Kohberger had a shot. When those guys started yelling into the vent, he needed to stand up on the crapper because it's always right next to the toilet. He just needed to stand up on that toilet and start yelling back at him. Right? For real. Oh, you're going to do that when they pop these doors? I'll be waiting, dude. Suited and booted. When they pop those doors, let's do this. And I promise you, half those guys are going to back down because they're all You think every single person in prison is a badass? I promise you that's not the case. Most of them are just loud mouths, hoping that if they just stay doing this, they may never have to get in a fight. Kohberger is such a pussy, he'd get his clock cleaned by a bunch of diaper sniffers. You know, he's going to. That's exactly what his destiny is, Lost Again. I'm not joking. That's his destiny. This dude is going to get tuned up for the rest of the time that he is in the prison system. If that wasn't the case for the foul-ass crimes that he did, which should be enough, what he has done since getting there, it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. This dude, this guy is going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's going to happen really quickly. You know who's going to, I promise, it's going to be just like Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar just goes like a ping pong ball. Ding, ding, ding. Jared Fogle. You hit a yard, you get the brakes beat off of you, you get shipped to the next yard. You get the brakes beat off you, get shipped to the next yard. And Larry Nassar is in protective custody. Every prison he goes to is a PC yard, and he doesn't make it a week because everybody knows what he did. And there's every guy in there, right? You hit a unit, there's going to be 126 guys in a full unit, right? 126 guys. You know how many of them are fathers? Almost all of them. You know how many of them have daughters? Plenty. And every one of them is looking at that dude like he did it to their daughter because it's the only kind of justice that a guy can dole out once he gets to prison. I've heard people go, yeah, it's funny how convicts all of a sudden, you know, want to start following laws. It's got nothing to do with that. It's that half of the prison population was molested. That's why they're in there. It's why they ended up on drugs. It's why they ended up robbing things. It's why they ended up screwing up their lives. Somebody did something to them as a kid. They don't forget that crap. So that when those kind of people come in, it's on. They go after him. Will it lighten up if he mans up? It's way too late. It's way too late. It would have. It absolutely would have. If he had manned up from day one, he probably had at least 2 or 3 good ass kickings coming to him. But now he's just got an entire life of that. Or I'm sorry, 4 of them. He's got 4 life sentences to do. This fool isn't even 2 weeks in and he's begging for help. It's like Beetlejuice. He's going to use up all of his vouchers with Juno, his caseworker, before he gets out of the intake process. This fool has dug himself a hole that he cannot get out of, no matter what. No matter what, he doesn't have a shot at getting out. This was a deal right before the voir dire process. Like they were ready to go, right? This was on and cracking. Is he getting counseling in prison? Not in the intake unit. So he's definitely going to be getting counseling. But when you go to the intake unit, here's what they're going to do. You're going to go through a full medical workup where they're going to come in and look at your body and check your teeth and, you know, stick a finger up your backside, all those fun things to determine what kind of critical or long-term care you're going to need, chronic care, if any. He's a young guy, but he's going to die in prison. So what they want to do is make sure they don't have to put a lot of money into healthcare into this fool. So they're going to do a full medical workup. He's going to go to medical. Then he's going to watch a couple of videos about doing time. Then they're going. It's basically an education process, right? That's all it is. But they're also going to sit him down with psych, and he's going to spend probably 2 hours with an intake coordinator with psych. And a complimentary diagnosis of antisocial personality. You know what? No, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. She wanted to church that up because she's a counselor. No, that's exactly what happens. Every single person in prison has been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. I'm not kidding you. It's ubiquitous. If you're in there, well, they figure, well, obviously you're antisocial, right? You're in prison. No, everybody gets that diagnosis. It's a bummer too. It really is. It's a bummer because you'll meet cats in there that definitely have it. It's really, really obvious. There are people inside prison who are still victimizing people. No, he does not. He could write a book about Christianity. He could write a book. He could write a child's book. He could write a novel. But if he writes a book about the crimes, he cannot make $1 on it. It's called the Son of Sam law. You can't profit from your crime, not while you're incarcerated. If he did a 30-year sentence, right, he's never getting out. But let's say he did a 30-year sentence and he gets out, he can then write a book and profit afterwards. While you're incarcerated, you cannot make money from your crime. That's a law. Well, to be fair, a lot of the ladies got borderline personality disorder. Okay, well, I figure everybody in there. Yeah, he cannot profit from his crime. Not while incarcerated. You know what? No, lost again. Look, I get crap every time I do a show like this. People, they'll send me emails and be like, "You did a lot of crime." Where people, I'm sure people were rooting for them to throw away the key on me. And you know what? They had every right to. What Brian Kohberger did is a little bit nastier. He stopped the lives of 4 people, right? 4 beautiful people that were just starting out life, right? Full of potential, everything in front of them. Those are dads that don't walk daughters down the aisle. Those are moms that don't get to see grandkids. That's effed up and massively. So screwed up. Anything that happens to Kohberger inside there, I'm sorry, people. I can't pity that fool. I can't. I got no pity for him. Isn't that bad? You know something? If you had any idea, here's the thing. They'll come down on you like a sack of crap. This happens a lot. So I have seen famous inmates who mail their IDs to the street so that the IDs can be sold on eBay, and they get angry. They get really angry about it. And they don't want you profiting in any way. Whitey Bulger did it constantly. Apparently, once or twice a week, he'd ask for a new ID. And he'd tell them people keep stealing them and this and that. He was sending them to the street so that people could sell them. Yeah. If he's writing to Dr. Catherine Ramsland, she's the psychologist that BTK corresponds with. You know what? There are a lot of people who absolutely make a living writing to people like him. They sell the signatures of these guys. There are whole genres of people that collect this kind of really macabre stuff. The paintings that John Wayne Gacy did of clowns sell for unbelievable money. Manson's artwork, super collectible stuff now. It's a pretty sick thing if you think about it. It really is. It's pretty sick. But that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? Yeah, what who cares what whoever wants? You can write every single person you want. Absolutely, you can. You just got to be careful about the selling it on eBay thing. They tend to get pretty angry about it. It is truly sick, and it absolutely is truly sick. And this guy epitomizes the absolute worst. Like, we talk about true crime all the time, and I've said that true crime lives in a couple of different places, and more often than not, when somebody commits a crime, it's for money to get dope more often. Like, I'm not joking, I've met 250 bank robbers in my life, maybe more than that. And I've never met one that robbed a bank to drive a Ferrari or to have the lavish vacations or jump out of airplanes or any of the crap you see in movies. They robbed banks to put dope in their arm, right? That's everybody that ever robbed a bank was a junkie. I've never met people, I honestly don't know people that robbed banks for any other reason, and I've met a bunch of bank robbers. I kind of went to that's where I did my time. I was a bank robber. So it's definitely, that's the first classes of crime is the people that are just trying to make money. They either pay for a habit or because that's how they see their way of making money. They're a criminal. That's the enterprise, right? Then you've got people that just have bad freaking wiring. Drew Peterson, that cat had bad wiring. I promise you. He still to this day claims that he had nothing to do with it. I was walking the yard with the same guy that's on the other side of that when he told us exactly what happened. And he can't do interviews anymore. If you ever want to Google a good one, Google his last interview. He cannot keep anything straight anymore. And now I started watching him lose it. But he's another great example. They took him out of a state facility and put him in a Fed facility, and he fought. Say what you will about that fool. He fought. He fought for his ability to stay on yards. I watched him get the bark beat off him 3 or 4 times. Saw him get stabbed in the face with a fork. Yeah. How many of his wives died? Well, One they've never found, and they won't. I told the FBI exactly what he told me, for the record. I did the stand-up thing. I told the FBI exactly what he told me. But he's a lowlife. He had one wife that disappeared. They never found the body. And then there was another wife, Kathleen, and Kathleen drowned, but didn't. See, he was a cop, and they came in, and it was a very, very quick. When they re-exhumed her body and looked at it, she didn't drown. He killed her. He beat her to death. He's not a good guy. People, I'm going to end this one a little bit early. I'm going to ask for some prayers, and I'm going to get abused because it's that kind of world. But you know what? Mama Scoville could use some prayers. My mom had an accident today. She's not a young woman, and she had an accident today, and she's in the hospital. So if we could get some prayers for her, I would really greatly appreciate that. It's so I'm going to be jumping off of the phone so that I can talk to some of my family, because I told them that I was going to be calling and making sure that she's all right before she goes to sleep tonight. So just keep her in your prayers, please. You get old. It's my dad used to say, getting old sucks, but it beats the alternative. On the Moose King. All right, people, between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor. Put a little love in your heart. See you on the next one. God bless. I'm Tommy. Have a good night.